Hello and welcome to Dugout Debrief. I'm your host, Chris Deluca. This is Boom Broadcasting's one, first, and only baseball-centric podcast, and we are back here after a week off. I wasn't feeling the best last week, so we decided to take a week off. We had everything pretty much pre-written, so not much extra work, but with that being said, we did have one major piece of news over the past week in my hiatus. That's what we're going to go start with. That's what we're going to go lead this episode with. Rafael Devers has been traded to the San Francisco Giants in exchange for Kyle Harris, Jordan Hicks, James Tibbs III, and Jose Bayo. The Red Sox now have two Bayos along with Brian Bayo. And my first reaction is, wow, if I had a nickel for every time the Boston Red Sox traded their once-in-a-generational player away to a West Coast National League West team for a interesting haul in return, I'd have two nickels. That's not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, to quote the great Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Shout out to Phineas and Ferb returning. I've been starting that new season. In all seriousness, I mean, he's at the height of his prime. We saw the same thing with the Mookie Betts deal back in 2020. We're going to go kind of give some comparison to that here. I don't understand this team's direction. You pay Alex Bregman, Garrett Crochet, and Devers himself, yet you trade that cornerstone in Rafi Devers. Not a lot making sense right there. You look like you're trying to compete. You're still in a position relatively to compete. I understand that it's been disappointing so far, and I also understand that things have been tumultuous. But you're on year two of a 10-year mega deal with your guy, the guy that you wanted to base your team around. Excuse me, but yeah, I mean, let's revisit the Mookie Betts deal. I mean, Alex Verdugo is a Brave, so we're looking at the return right now. Alex Verdugo is a Brave. Connor Wong has been okay. He's been a serviceable catcher, but not elite. And then Jeter Downs isn't even in the MLB anymore. I believe he's playing in either Mexico or Colombia at this point. So really the only benefit that the Red Sox got, and this is kind of when it first happened, I said the biggest thing the Red Sox get of this is they get to contract dump David Price because the Dodgers took that entire contract mega deal of age. I believe he's 41 at the time, David Price. Harrison is the Giants' number one prospect, but I still don't think that he's worth once-in-a-generational talent like Devers. He's established. Rafael Devers is established. And overall, I think they should have just traded Devers in his contract year. I mean, if you're going to trade an established player already, trade him in the last year of his contract before he's about to enter the unrestricted free agent market, or if he's right at the end of his arbitration within the last 2 years of it. That would have been a wise time to trade him. You would have got a much bigger haul in return for him. And I definitely get sending him to a National League West team. Same thing I did with Mookie Betts. He's all the way over there. It's not like you're sending him to the Yankees, gosh forbid, or the Orioles, or even Tampa or Toronto, something like that. You're sending him way over there. You only play once a year, and it's once in the West Coast, once on the East Coast. They got Bregman as a replacement, but I don't think they planned on making this deal. Like I said, the positional battle, I understand. We're actually going to be talking about that when we get to the Giants part of this. But the Giants are taking on the $313.5 million contract. It really isn't that bad because they didn't spend that much in the offseason outside of Willy Adames. The Giants contract situation is relatively okay. Only 6 players over $10 million a year, and they had one of the best pure hitters in baseball. I mean, 3 to 5 WAR a year. Do I think he's going to win MVP? No, I think the American League is, just too top heavy. The American League player talent wise, American League team wise is very top heavy league. So I don't think Devers is going to necessarily win MVP. But that being said, the only weird part is Devers' main issue, the whole issue, the tumultuous waves that happened were all caused by the positional debate. Rafael Devers back in February, January, whenever they signed Alex Bregman, said he didn't want to move on from third base. Alex Bregman was established third baseman. Here's the thing. Matt Chapman is hurt right now, so obviously Devers will be playing third base. Matt Chapman comes back. I do not see the Giants moving on from a 5-time Gold Glove winner moving him to DH. I don't see a 5-time Gold Glove winner being moved to DH as compared to Devers, who I don't believe has a Gold Glove. And again, it's hard. It's only one per position. There's a lot of good third basemen in the league. It's probably one of the more balanced positions out there. So I don't see them moving Matt Chapman to DH. So Devers is either going to have to play outfield or he's going to have to DH. So I don't think it's going to get much better for him position-wise anyway. And I'm going to conclude the conversation with this was actually one of the teams he preferenced to go to, which is interesting to me. That was not on my bingo card. I don't think this was on a lot of bingo cards. I mean, a lot of the Red Sox side has already been said clearly by the Boston tabloids, by their sports radio. I'm sure they have their own opinions on it. It's an interesting time to be a Boston sports fan. I can imagine between the Celtics playoff performance, New England being in total rebuild mode, Boston being Boston, and the Bruins just can't get over the Florida Panthers. So that being said, we're moving on to our next piece of news. Shohei Ohtani returns to the mound against the San Diego Padres. This is his Dodger debut as a pitcher. One inning, one earned run, and it was a debut for the Dodgers. I'm wondering how long it'll last. I mean, I have mixed feelings on that. I've gone into this before, how I don't think the Dodgers should be focusing on Ohtani pitching necessarily unless the rotation is really, really banged up like it is right now, like it is every single year seemingly. That's why I always kind of like, well, you might need him to pitch. I mean, obviously Glasnow is down. Sasaki is probably not coming back this year. That's kind of been the reports I've been reading, that we're not going to be seeing Sasaki this year. So in all honesty, it might be wise to continue to pitch Ohtani and heal him, which, we'll see where it goes from there. We had a lot of call-ups over the past 2 weeks, a couple massive ones. White Sox call-up number 2 prospect Kyle Teal. Hopefully he'll be an effective catcher. They definitely need it. Angels call up their top prospect, Christian Moore. He is the 56th overall prospect in baseball. Nationals call up Brady House. I actually had the opportunity to watch his first at-bat against the Rockies because I wanted to watch Nationals-Rockies for some reason. That was the only game on TV at the time. Still continuing to develop as a team. Washington is, I'm hoping he'll give him just more major league exposure. It's really good to see Washington finally bring up these gems that they got when they rebuilt after the World Series and that they've been developing. I really think those Nats are going to be able to compete, especially with Atlanta kind of being on the slide down, Miami not really being in a position to compete. The Phillies are still really good. Obviously, the Mets are still going to be really good. Both can be really good for a long time. But I think Washington's going to be up there, guys. I really think that they will. Milwaukee calls up their number 1 pitching prospect, Jacob Misiorowski. I have a phonic spelling of that. I had to look at that. I can't lie to you. And he had a fantastic debut, by the way, against the St. Louis Cardinals, going 5 innings with 0 hits, 0 earned runs, and 5 strikeouts. Against those Cardinals, very, very good debut for the Brewers' top prospect. They definitely need it with how their injury situation has been this year, just with losing a lot of arms. So another to conclude this call-up barrage in the news here, the Red Sox call up number 1 prospect Roman Anthony. They did that right before they traded Rafael Devers. He had a 228 in Worcester with 10 home runs, and the Red Sox need an outfielder, so this is really, really good. I think it benefits a little bit of everybody here. Pablo Lopez is going to miss 8 to 12 weeks with a shoulder strain. That's really, really unfortunate because, again, he's a fantasy pitcher I have. He's kind of one of those guys. I don't know. And I know a lot of people that watch this channel are big fantasy football people. I'm a fantasy baseball person, but there's a lot more room in fantasy baseball. So you have more room to just draft the same people every year. And he's one of those guys that I've pretty much drafted every single year since I've been doing it. Since I've been doing fantasy baseball, I've drafted this guy pretty much every year. Manny Machado is also that guy, one of those guys up until this year where his stock just went up. I think he was like overall number 8, like his ADP. So something crazy. Was not able to get him. We have another unfortunate injury news as Corbin Burns will miss the rest of this year and probably a large portion of next year. So the Arizona Diamondbacks, their big prize of the offseason that they went out and signed, a huge blow. Had a 2.66 ERA, would have probably contended for the Cy Young this year. So it's really, really unfortunate to see Corbin Burnes go down for a Diamondbacks team that isn't by no means struggling, but needs every piece they can get when you have great teams like the Dodgers, like San Diego, and like the Giants now who are making big acquisitions. The Brewers should Aaron Savalier to the Chicago White Sox for Andrew Vaughn in the biggest meme trade of this decade, to be honest with you. Savalier requested a trade after being moved to the bullpen by the Milwaukee Brewers. So he went from being on a well above 500 established playoff team to a team that broke the record for the worst team in MLB history last year. Also for a guy who, Andrew Vaughn, nothing against him, was called down to AAA Charlotte for a good portion of this year just because he has been really, really struggling. Hopefully he can turn around Milwaukee. But Savalier isn't a contract year. I don't think he's going to be on the White Sox very long, but I do think there was some malice in that, to say the least, in that business deal. The Cardinals signed Tyler Matzik. Obviously, we'll remember him. He's bouncing around. They also signed Zach Plesac, former Guardians highly touted prospect. Astros signed Omar Narvaez. The Angels signed Ben Gamel, journeyman right there. The A's acquire Austin Wynns, and Forrest Whitley is traded to the Tampa Bay Rays. And I feel like Forrest Whitley was in MLB The Show in the Astros organization for like 10 years. Like, played road to the show, and whenever you're playing against an Astros affiliate, if you're in any teams in the Pacific Coast League and you're playing against Sugarland, you're like, this guy's been here forever, you know? So I feel like it was as far back as like 2016. But that being said, we're going to go to the actual subject of this show, and that is my Hall of Famers for 2025. So like as of right now, Hall of Famers. And we did the National League last week. We didn't really have a lot of surprises outside of Andrew McCutchen. And this week we have a little bit more surprises. I actually included less people, though. So I came with a little bit less of a strategy. In full disclosure, I went through, put all the stats in before I started feeling really sick. So these career stats are 1 week behind. But for most of these guys, how much does it really matter? They've been in the league for a long time, and I think most of them are pretty well established. So with that being said, the number one we're going to start with is with the team that has actually been struggling recently. And that's the New York Yankees. That's the team we're going to go start with. And I think that they have about 3 guaranteed on there. You might argue with the last one, but we're going to start with the obvious one. We're going to start with Aaron Judge. 57.5 career WAR, 336 home runs. He's the 8th on the active list already in his career, which is insane. 767 RBIs, 795 runs. He is slugging .613. He's a 2-time MVP already, Rookie of the Year, 6-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger. Much more to come at the age of 36. I think he's going to get at least one more MVP under his belt. Aaron Judge, probably the second least controversial that we will see on this list. And Carlos Stanton, who made his return, by the way, to the Yankees here on Monday, has a 44.9 career WAR. He has 429 home runs, which is the number one most on the active list. He has 1,103 RBIs. He is slugging .525, a 136 OPS, and 3,165 total bases. He has an MVP, which was an electric year. He has one of the best primes, a 5-time All-Star, ALCS MVP in 2024. And I think his prime is long enough to give him votes. He may not be first ballot, but I think he gets in even with the injuries, even though he hasn't played a really fully healthy season here in a few years, especially if the Yankees can get a World Series ring with him. I think he's a lock just maybe in year 4 to year 5. You can call Stanton. Then finally, for the New York Yankees, I don't think he's going to go in as a Yankee. I think he's going to go in probably as a Diamondback or a Cardinal, more than likely a Cardinal, because that's where he saw his MVP, one of his most interesting MVPs, and that is Paul Goldschmidt, 64.2 career WAR, 369 home runs, 1,216 RBIs, 139 OPS plus, and 290 batting average. He's got the MVP, 7-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove, 5-time Silver Slugger. His prime was legitimately from 2013 to 2022, capped off by an MVP. lock. I think lock, maybe not first ballot. Then one more guy that I just forgot to mention here that it's because he's injured, but I think he's another lock, and that's Garrett Cole already. I think Garrett Cole's got it. He's got the Cy Young, 3.18 ERA for 43.2 career WAR. He has 153 wins, 6-time All-Star, 2-time ERA title. He's been elite with 3 different teams. Been elite with Pittsburgh, even though that was the shortest elite time. Elite with Houston, the World Series championship. Elite with New York, leading them to the World Series last year. Hopefully he can get healthy again, but I think he's a lock at this point. The Baltimore Orioles are way too early to tell. Adley Rutschman will get up there. I think he's finally starting to bounce back after his rough start to 2025. Gunnar Henderson as well, young. Felix Bautista could be one of the best closers. Again, we're going to learn this later on in the show. It's really, really hard to get in as a relief pitcher. The Boston Red Sox. Well, I would have said Rafael Devers, but I still think it's too early. You can't really put him on the Giants list. I did the Giants last week. Rafael Devers, we'll just still put him with the Red Sox, 24.9 career WAR, 1,132 hits, and a 213 home runs. He doesn't have a lot of All-Stars, only with 3. He has 2 Silver Sluggers. I think he's too early to tell. Another guy who I think kind of maybe Alex Bregman, a lot of it, with the cheating scandal, all that. We'll get to that when we get to the Astros. 42.6 career WAR, 1,191 hits, and he has a 274 batting average. Only 2-time All-Star and a World Series champion. I think he needs an MVP to really have a chance, though. And maybe Aroldis Chapman. A lot of people, I've seen a lot of debate about it. This is probably the most debatable one because, again, it's hard to get as a reliever. He's a great ERA career. He has a 260 ERA, 1,280 Ks, and he has 245 career saves, which is the 3rd most active. The 7-time All-Star is the electric prime. I think he gets in his last year of eligibility, just not first. The Rays are way too young of a team to really say anyone. Obviously, they have a lot of young guys, but they usually end up trading them toward the end, like Aranda. He's having a great year. I actually have him on my All-Star ballot. But we're moving on to Toronto. And Toronto Blue Jays have one lock, even though, again, that's not the team you associate him with necessarily. It's the same story that we have for Justin Verlander, especially as well. And as well as Paul Goldschmidt, which is not really a team you're associating this guy with, but it's going to be Max Scherzer. I mean, he's a complete lock. He's one of those guys like Justin Verlander, Clayton Kershaw from that generation. 75.3 career WAR, 316 ERA, 3,408 Ks, 2nd active, behind Justin Verlander, aforementioned, a 3-time Cy Young Award winner, 8-time All-Star first ballot. Lock it in. He is probably the number 2, I would say, right now on the most guaranteed first ballot lock here on this list of American League Hall of Famers. Moving on to the Central, moving on to the Cleveland Guardians, and we have another lock here. We have Jose Ramirez. I think he's done enough. I think J-Ram has done enough from the hot corner with a 54.8 career WAR, 1,577 hits, a 281 batting average, 267 home runs, a 6-time All-Star, 5-time Silver Slugger, and he might go down as the best player of this century to not win an MVP, which would be insane if he does not. But I don't see it happening. I mean, then there's a big reason, Aaron Judge is a big reason, and he's going to be on Cleveland for his whole career. He's established that, and that's great. I love it. I think that he is a model of that city. He is a model of that team. Grit, just being punching up to the weight and, really having just a lot of hustle, wanting to win by any means necessary, wanting to take down these big market teams like New York, like Boston, wanting to win, finally make it to a World Series. I'd love to see it. They came close in 2024, but I just think that with how top heavy the American League is with talent, he's not going to be getting an MVP, but I would love to see it. Maybe Emmanuel Clase, who had one of the best seasons a relief pitcher has ever had in 2024. His 11.6 career WAR. Again, he's a closer. They don't have very high WAR. His 171 saves, a 1.83 ERA, 3-time All-Star, 2-time reliever of the year, and he finished 3rd in Cy Young voting last year, which is just insane. Obviously, he had to fall off in the playoffs, or had one of the worst playoff performances by a relief pitcher in MLB history, which is very unfortunate. Bad way to follow up his regular season. I think it will require a few more 2024 levels for him to get in, though. The White Sox, nope. Twins, mostly young or injured. I mean, obviously, I love Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton. And then they have a lot of younger guys, younger pitching rotation pitchers, especially guys like Joe Ryan, who I'm very big on. I think Joe Ryan will make a case to be a Hall of Famer once he establishes himself more. Pablo Lopez, who we aforementioned at the beginning of the show with his injury, one of the most consistent pitchers in baseball. I think that at one point he can put up a fight to be able to get in the Hall of Fame. Johan Duran, too. Another great relief pitcher, but still nobody is a lock on the Minnesota Twins yet. The Detroit Tigers, one absolute guy who, as long as he doesn't completely fall off the wheels, not completely fall off, at least he stays on these tracks to some extent. Tarek Skubal, 14.6 career WAR, 3.22 ERA, already has 753 career Ks. He had arguably the most dominant start in MLB history a couple weeks ago. He's only 28, pending a complete fall off. I think he makes it in. Kansas City Royals are mostly too early to tell outside of one obvious one. It's kind of a theme in this division I've noticed. But I mean, the lock is Salvador Perez. He is one of the best balanced catchers between offense and defense at a 33.9 career WAR, 1,626 hits. He is slugging .454, 277 home runs. He's a 9-time All-Star, 5-time Silver Slugger, World Series MVP in 2015, and one of the best defensive and offensive catchers of the century. Just insane. He was either an All-Star, Silver Slugger, or Gold Glove in 10 out of the last 11 healthy seasons played, by the way. That's the thing that I looked up when I was going through Baseball Reference. I think he is the last of his kind right now when it comes to catchers like him who are good with the bat and good with the glove outside of Adley Rutschman. It's kind of either or. You don't really see just fantastic balanced catchers like Salvi Perez anymore. It's either one or the other. Great offensively, great defensively. Salvador Perez, first ballot, lock it in. A little bit too early to tell. Bobby Witt Jr., I think he's going to win multiple MVPs, but again, he's only in year 2. Way too early to tell. Like I said when I did National League 1 2 weeks ago, we're not really talking about hypotheticals here yet. Texas Rangers, moving on to that AL West, moving on to Michael Davis's Texas Rangers. We have in Corey Seager, Rookie of the Year, 5-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger, and an LCS MVP in 2020 with Los Angeles Dodgers, won the World Series in 2020. One of those World Championships with 2020 Dodgers, one of those World Championships with the Texas Rangers in 2023. He has a 38.1 career WAR and a 289 batting average. He checks all the boxes outside of getting that one MVP, and I think he will get that at some point. Just Ohtani standing in front of him, or sorry, not Ohtani standing in front of him, Aaron Judge standing in front of him in the American League is going to make it hard. Same thing with a lot of these guys who I've mentioned here. Same thing with J-Ram. A maybe, and this might be a controversial maybe because I just think he was hurt too much, and that's Jacob deGrom, 2-time Cy Young Award, 2.50 ERA, 1,740 Ks. He's only 13th active with that too, which I genuinely think is insane. I think that by a mile, if you just look at those stats, you would assume that he is going to be a first ballot, but he has not had a fully healthy season since 2019, guys. So not even in this decade has there been a healthy team, or has been a healthy Jacob deGrom, rather. The A's, nobody yet. There are a lot of great young players: Lawrence Butler, Jacob Wilson, Tyler Soderstrom, Brent Rooker. Again, all too early to tell. Mariners, similar situation. I don't think they have anyone who's long established, been there forever, who's like, yep, this guy's getting in. I love J-Rod's chances at some point with his influence on the game, his electric play, but got to win MVP, got to put in more. Cal Raleigh, obviously, MLB leading home runs too, but way too early to tell. So we got 2 teams left here, and we have the number 1 lock here that I was referring to at the top of this segment, and that's Mike Trout. Mike Trout has 3 MVPs. He has a Rookie of the Year. He has a 11-time All-Star, 9-time Silver Slugger, MLB Player of the Year, 86.1 career WAR, 1,679 hits. 388 home runs behind the aforementioned Stanton. He has a 171 OPS plus. He is the best player of this generation. He may not be unanimous. I would vote for him personally. I don't think he will be unanimous because of the injuries at the end of his career. He will be first ballot. I will say that him and Judge and Scherzer are pretty much, I would rank it, him, Scherzer, Judge are the biggest locks out of this list in order. So that being said, we're moving on to the Astros. This is going to be a fun one. We love talking about the Astros, don't we? Putting the sign stealing aside, Jose Altuve is a Hall of Famer. He has an MVP. He's a 9-time All-Star, 7-time Silver Slugger. He has the LCS MVP in 2022. He has 3 batting titles. As we mentioned with National League One, Hall of Fame voters love those batting titles. He has a Gold Glove, which I thought he actually had more than one. 52.2 career WAR, 2,296 hits, 1,185 runs, and he's batted over 300. He's batting 305 as his career. He's at the end of his career, I think. I don't think he has many years left in the league, but I think that he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think that that's a very controversial take. Regardless of the role in the sign-stealing saga, we're going to figure that out with Carlos Beltran being really close to getting enough votes to getting in. Alex Bregman, we'll see if he gets in. I think that Altuve will be the big trendsetter because he was more directly involved. So we'll see. And then way too early, Yordan Alvarez, 23.2 career WAR, 295 batting average is crazy how high his batting average is considering how high his strikeout rate has been. Historically, he's got that down, don't get me wrong. But 167 home runs, but still too early to tell. And overall, give me your opinion if you think that the Astros cheating saga people deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I would love to hear your opinion. Moving on, it was round 1 of All-Star voting. So I went ahead and I did my All-Star ballot here. I'm just going to kind of go really through these. I'm going to do another one next week where I'll talk about it. This was just a vague one I threw together. And first base might be controversial for the American League. I think that it's not as competitive as one would say. Actually, I have Miguel Vargas being my first base vote. I have Willie Castro being my second base vote. I have Jose Ramirez at third. I have Bobby Witt Jr. at third, or shortstop rather. My outfield consists of Aaron Judge, J-Rod, Tyler Soderstrom, and Cal Raleigh. Brent Rooker as my DH, Cal Raleigh as my catcher. I was very close to Bobby Witt Jr. and Jacob Wilson. Jacob Wilson will probably be next week, will be my shortstop. National League, we got Freddie Freeman, who's currently leading in first base in the National League after the first round of voting. Second base, Diamondbacks, Kentel Marte. Austin Riley, who just hit a walk-off home run at third base. Shortstop, Francisco Lindor. My outfield is the now healthy Ronald Acuna Jr., Heliot Ramos of the San Francisco Giants, and the gem of the offseason for the Chicago Cubs, Kyle Tucker, finishing out the outfield. We got Will Smith, who just hit a home run against San Diego at catcher. And then rounding out, we got another Dodger here, Shohei Ohtani, who's probably leading in all votes. Again, we'll do another ballot. You can do like 6 of these a day. I've only done a couple, so we'll do more later on. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go do our power rankings now. And the aforementioned Houston Astros come in at number 5. The Astros have been really hot recently. And a lot of these teams are all like 5-5, 6-4, 7-3 at the best over the past 10. That's kind of what I look at. And I look at strength of schedule. Houston's been there. The New York Mets as well. They have been really solid recently. They got a series going on that they just wrapped up with the Atlanta Braves. They are 6-4 over the past 10. They've played Tampa, a solid Tampa team, and Colorado Rockies, but that's why they're not higher. That's why their division rival, the Philadelphia Phillies, are higher than them. They played Toronto, they played Chicago, a lot more frustrating teams to say the least. At number 2, we have the Detroit Tigers finally dropping out of that number 1 spot. They've been there for a couple weeks now. They did slide here to 6-4. They played the Pirates. They played the Reds. They had some winnable opponents that they have been dropping games to. And then number 1, because it's based on strength of schedule, they've been playing nobody but the Padres and the Giants recently. That is the Los Angeles Dodgers. Wrapped up a series with St. Louis. They beat San Diego. And they beat the Giants. They beat the Padres. It's what you need. Beat your division rivals. New York Yankees, for pretty much the second time actually this year, I don't think it's the first, second time this year, are not in the top 5 power rankings, much to Jason's dismay. And the issue is you get swept by your division rival, Boston Red Sox. You have 2 games in a row where you score 0 runs against one of the worst teams in the American League, Los Angeles Angels. It's been rough. And while the roster's there, Stanton's back. You'll definitely be back later up in that top 5, but you can't be getting shut out by the Angels on consecutive nights and getting swept by the Boston Red Sox. You just can't, Yankees. I'm sorry to say it. Guarantee you'll be back, though. Series of the week. This kind of got audible, to say the least, because the Red Sox and Giants were not going to be on my list necessarily, but Rafi's making his return to his old team. Red Sox make a West Coast trip to the Bay Area to go meet Rafael Devers right after they trade him. Storybook. I'm very excited to watch that. Philadelphia Phillies and Houston Astros World Series rematch. The World Series that started this whole Phillies contention window, to say the least. I'm very interested to see, especially because 2 teams, one fighting first place, one in first place, one trying to build more distance between them and the team under them. Give me Phillies Astros. We have our trivia, and we're getting out of here right about at 31 and a half minutes. So last week, 2 weeks ago, what year were the Kansas City Royals founded? What year the Kansas City Royals founded? It was 1969, and all 3 years have been at Kauffman Stadium outside of the first 3, which were at Memorial Stadium, I believe, which was shared between the Chiefs, who were in the AFL at the time, if I would be correct, and the Royals. And now I also think that the Chiefs played at Kauffman Stadium for a little bit too before Arrowhead. I'm not actually sure which one was built first. That's something I would need to look up. I should have thought about that. But yeah, all 3 years at Kauffman Stadium. It's a stadium that's kind of aging like fine wine, as opposed to some other older ballparks that are not aging well. A lot of people forget how old Kauffman is, though. I mean, it's it's built in the 70s. So I believe it's now that the Coliseum is no more. I believe it's now the fourth oldest stadium. Yeah, behind Fenway, Wrigley, Dodger, and then Kauffman. So yeah, I think it ranks up there. So this week's trivia question: who is the only player to go into the Hall of Fame as an Angel? Because we're doing Hall of Fame discussion today, and we're doing American League Hall of Fame discussion. Angels only have 1 lock. They're going to have 1 guy go in as an Angel, because I don't see him going anywhere else. But who is the 1 player that they currently have in the Hall of Fame that went in as an Angel? With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to once again thank you for tuning in to Dugout Debrief this week. I'm so grateful to be able to talk about something I care about on one of the best up-and-coming sports YouTube social media channels out there. Make sure to subscribe to Boom Broadcasting. Make sure to subscribe to our TikTok, our Instagram. We're here on Reels. We got a lot of great guys making great content, and short form, long form like this one. There might be some short form coming out of this one, some reels coming out of this one. They'll be posted on our Instagram, so keep an eye out for that. Shout out to Cody. Make sure just to watch everything else we have going on. We had some great NBA coverage with 3 from Deep with Jason as these NBA finals are preparing to wrap up. We have some great NHL coverage with 3 from or quick hits rather, not 3 from Deep. Just mentioned that one with quick hits. So once again, thank you for tuning in, and see you next week.